Hi, welcome to my channel. This is a narrative that bridges the gap between immense wealth and absolute tragedy. This fictional essay explores the brutal assassination of Canadian billionaires Barry and Honey Sherman, titans of the global pharmaceutical industry. On December 15 of 2017, the discovery of their bodies sent shockwaves through the business community, marking the violent conclusion of a relentless corporate era. While this interpretation serves as a structured analysis of the facts, we must follow the money to uncover the potential architects of this crime. By examining the intersection of the Shermans' vast fortune, Barry's aggressive litigation history, and the suspicious timing of their deaths, we can begin to reconstruct the motives behind this calculated and unresolved enigma. The Sherman case remains one of the most haunted mysteries in Canadian history because it occupies a unique space where passion, family betrayal, and corporate espionage converge. It is a case defined by an almost surreal level of initial negligence from the police service, whose response was characterized by a slow and fundamentally flawed investigative process. By failing to follow standard protocols for securing a crime scene and communicating the reality of a double homicide, authorities allowed critical evidence to vanish. The scene was so visibly staged, a macabre tableau that almost seemed designed to be misinterpreted. Yet the official response was so dismissive that it appeared to some observers almost a deliberate effort to obfuscate the truth of a targeted professional execution. The pharmaceutical landscape is littered with unsolved mysteries and deaths that lack the decisive evidence required to convict a culprit. From the 1982 Tylenol murders to the suspicious 2021 death of clinical trial mogul Glenn DeVry, the industry is no stranger to lethal controversy. This case, with its peculiar lack of DNA evidence, despite the intimacy of the killings, reinforces the theory of a corporate assassination. When a billionaire who has spent a lifetime dismantling the profit margins of global conglomerate is found strangled in his own home, the coincidence feels more like a cold, calculate business decision meant to neutralize a persistent threat to international market dominance. Apotex Inc., founded by Barry Sherman in 1974, stood as a titan of the Canadian pharmaceutical sector. As a generic drug manufacturer, Apotex specialized in creating bioequivalent versions of brand name medications, offering them at significantly reduced cost. By 2017, Apotex had ascended to become the third largest pharmaceutical company in Canada and the absolute leader in generics by both volume and revenue. Although Barry had officially stepped down as CEO 5 years prior, he remained the executive chairman, actively directing the firm's version with the same legendary intensity that built his empire. His company was the primary engine of affordable healthcare in Canada, providing millions with essential medications that would otherwise be financially inaccessible. Barry Sherman was known for his scorched earth legal tactics, utilizing Canadian law loopholes that allowed Apotex to manufacture generic versions of drugs even while patents litigation was ongoing. This was particularly effective near patent expiration dates. Sherman's relentless pursuit of market entry meant that at the time of his death, Apotex was embroiled in hundreds of active lawsuits against big pharma giants. His strategy involved challenging the validity of patents to force early market entry, a practice that saved taxpayers billions, but cost the global pharmaceutical giants astronomical sums in lost revenue, making him perhaps the most hated man in the world of innovative medicine. The scene discovered by the real estate agent was profoundly disturbing. The couple was found by the lap pool, seated upright with leather belts around their necks. Their positions eerily mimicked a pair of life-size junk art sculpture Honey kept in her home, created by the Canadian artist Daniel Gallet, an artist known for using junk punk aesthetics. While police initially labeled it as a murder-suicide, pointing to Honey's facial injuries as evidence of a struggle, the physics of the scene dictated otherwise. Their arms were pinned by their own jackets, pulled down behind them in a way a suicide victim could not achieve. This was no impulsive act. It was a highly symbolic message designed to mock the victims and signify a corporate professional termination. Long before Apotex, Barry's journey began with the acquisition of Empire Laboratories, a firm owned by his uncle, Louis Lloyd Winter. Barry purchased the company using funds from his savings and a small inheritance, only for Winter to die by a fatal stroke, followed shortly by his wife's death in their 40s. The sudden aneurysm is an event uncommon for an individual of Winter's age and apparent health. Empire had been a pioneer in challenging the high prices of pharmaceutical conglomerates, and the parallels between the uncle's early death and Barry's own assassination are chilling. Both men were disruptors who threatened the financial strangulation of the market by big pharma players, and both met mysterious ends just as their influence peaked. This historical context suggests a recurring pattern of violence against those who dared to challenge the status quo in big pharma. Barry Sherman was an academic prodigy, entering university at 16 and earning a PhD in astrophysics by the MIT. His brilliance was matched only by his endurance. He met Honey while they were students, and by 2017 they had been married for 46 years. The theory of murder-suicide collapses under the weight of their future plans. They were actively overseeing the construction of a massive new residence and were involved in deep philanthropic commitments. They were a couple looking forward, not ending. They were survived by 4 children, all of whom were suddenly thrust into a nightmare that contradicted everything known about the Sherman's stable, if high-pressure family dynamic. The couple's personality could be the perfect example of opposites attract. Barry was the archetypal introvert, a workaholic who spent 16 hours a day at the office and lived with legendary frugality, often driving old cars despite his billions. Honey, by contrast, was an extroverted force of nature, a socialité who sat on numerous charitable boards and maintained relationships with the global elite. While Barry built the wealth, Honey ensured it reached those in need. This synergy made them a formidable unit. His quiet, tactical mind provided the resources for her loud, compassionate public work. Their complementary nature made the idea of one killing the other not only tragic, but fundamentally illogical for those who knew them. Despite the public image, a darker theory emerged regarding their son, Jonathan. Investigators scrutinized the relationship after it was revealed that Barry had recently asked Jonathan to repay a $50 million loan to bolster Apotek's cash flow during a period of intense litigation. The tension surrounding this request, combined with Jonathan's reportedly complex relationship with his father's demanding expectations, led some to speculate about a motive centered on inheritance and financial independence. While no evidence has ever linked him to the crime, the mere existence of this $50 million dispute provided the police and private investigators with a follow-the-money trail that led directly into the heart of the Sherman's family private financial dealings. Similarly, the cousins theory haunted the investigation. The children of Louis Lloyd Winter had spent years in a bitter legal battle with Barry, claiming they were cheated out of the rightful ownership of Apotex. Although Barry had supported them financially for years, he had recently cut off their stipends after their legal claims failed in court. The cousins felt that a significant portion of the Apotex fortune belonged to them as the heirs of the original founder of Empire Laboratories. Their deep-seated resentment and the timing of the financial court rulings against them, just months before the murders, created a motive based on decades of perceived injustice and the desire for a multi-billion-dollar retribution. The negligence of the police was staggering. The lead investigator took several days to arrive, and the crime scene was left largely unmonitored, allowing it to be contaminated by various people entering the home. They withheld the CCTV footage of a person of interest for 4 years, a delay that likely allowed the trail to go cold. Furthermore, they went public with the murder-suicide theory without forensic proof, only to be forced to retract it weeks later. Journalists even found evidence such as Honey's jewelry near the home that police had overlooked. Faced with institutional failure, the Sherman family hired a team of private investigators led by Tom Klatt and offered a $35 million reward. The private probe uncovered that the house had been expertly accessed, likely by someone with deep knowledge of security gaps. This control is mirrored in the movements of the unidentified walking person captured on CCTV, who lingered for an extended period in a known blind spot where cameras could not reach. Such precision suggests the killer possessed advanced counter-surveillance training and intimate knowledge of the home's security layout, information typically restricted to blueprints or corporate security firms. Beyond physical brutality, the digital and surveillance anomalies suggest a level of sophisticated tradecraft. A chilling forensic details involves Honey Sherman's cell phone, which was used to send a mundane email regarding a charity meeting well after her estimated time of death. This digital ghosting implies that the perpetrators managed the couple's communications to manufacture a false timeline, delaying discovery. This is a classic misdirection tactic used to expand the escape window. By creating a digital alibi for the victims, the killers ensured that if police checked phone pings, it would appear the couple was still alive while the hit team was already fleeing the country. From a forensic standpoint, the absence of biological evidence at the scene is perhaps the most glaring indicator of a professional hit. In a struggle as intimate as a double strangulation, one would expect to find skin under fingernails, hair, or touch DNA. However, the Sherman scene was forensically sterile. Despite the brutality, no foreign DNA was recovered. This suggests the killers wore full-body clean suits, gloves, and hairnets. Standard gear for professional hit teams, but extremely rare in crimes of passion or domestic disputes. This degree of forensic awareness points to an operative who understood exactly how to leave a crime scene empty of the killer's identity. Most damningly, a second autopsy conducted by the family's private pathologist revealed the ligature marks on the victim's wrist, consistent with the use of industrial zip ties to bind them before death. No such ties were found at the scene, proving they had been removed by a meticulous killer. This suggests a professional clean of the scene, designed to leave no trace of a third party. An amateur killer usually flees in panic, leaving the murder weapon or restraints behind. A professional, conversely, removes everything, restraints, bags, and tools that could be tracked back to a specific batch or manufacturer by removing the ties. The killers effectively erased the physical link between the perpetrator and the act. I think Barry Sherman saw himself as a torchbearer for his uncle Louis, using Canadian law to make medicine affordable. His rebellious career suggests that he was making Big Pharma pay for the loss of his uncle, even if he never admitted it. He didn't exploit his $4.6 billion fortune for personal vanity. His lack of private security was a testament to his belief that he was protected by his values. He lived a life of service to his company, motivated by the intellectual thrill of the win against conglomerates. To Barry, the law was a weapon of justice, and apothecs was the fortress from which he fought for the average citizen's right to affordable care. In the aftermath, the Sherman's family, rather than uniting, succumbed by internal strife. The siblings became divided by suspicion, leading to a breakdown in communication. The constant threat of being targeted forced the children to live under 24/7 private security, turning their lives into a glided prison. This is the ultimate tragedy. The murders did not just end two lives, they shattered a family, turning a legacy of philanthropy into a bitter fight. Following the deaths, and after a long legal battle over the estate, the Sherman's heirs decided to sell apothecs. In 2023, Apotex was sold to a New York-based firm for an estimated $3 billion, a fraction of its peak valuation of $10 billion. Notably, the buyer company was way smaller in size and resources compared to Apotex at the time of the sale. The fortune was divided among the 4 children, effectively liquidating the family's ties to the industry. The Winter cousins received no part of the sale proceeds. This sale marked the end of an era, as the firm transitioned from a family-owned crusader to a private equity-owned asset. The transition effectively neutralized Apotex as a disruptive force of generic drugs, as the new ownership shifted away from Barry's aggressive litigation model toward a more passive and predictable business strategy. Since the acquisition, the New York-based firm drastically reduced its patent challenges. From their headquarters, the firm has settled numerous cases that Barry would have fought to the end. In recent years, the company had lost millions in potential revenue by dropping litigation, leading many to wonder if the new ownership goal was to pacify the firm. By extinguishing the Sherman's method, the architects of this crime achieved what they likely intended: the removal of a man who used Canadian laws to make medicines accessible. In just 8 years, Apotex had been fundamentally dismantled as a generic drugs competitor. The positioning of the bodies was a final, cruel message, comparing the couple to art made of trash, a symbolic dismissal of their worth. It was a personal attack on a man whose company was valued at billions. The murders were a warning to any other disruptors who may think to challenge the giants of the industry. It told the world that no amount of money can protect you if you threaten the core profits of the global pharmaceutical machine. The staging was not a crime, it was a signature, a mocking testament of the power of those who operate in the shadows of the corporate and political world of Big Pharma. It is profoundly sad to see a family broken by such calculated act. Despite the $35 million reward, the true culprits remain in the shadows, protected by the very complexity of the industry they inhabit. The Sherman case is a reminder that in the world of high-stakes pharma, the truth is often buried under layers of litigation and silence, and the real story of what happened to Barry and Honey Shermans remains an unresolved enigma. And this is the first time I cover a real murder case. Has been a very interesting journey, and I hope it has been for you as well. Your comments are very welcome. Thank you for joining me on this fictional essay through one of Canada's Big Pharma darkest chapters. I will see you in the next story. See you later.